What's up, guys? So we have reached the halfway point of this season of Propaganda with Kandoro, and I thought, seeing as how this particular season has been very heavy and emotional, why not try do something different? As a matter of fact, there was a comment at somebody asking, why can't we have an upbeat episode? Upbeat with what? And I thought maybe it might be time to take a step back, answer some questions, answer some feedback, catch you guys on what is possibly happening behind the scenes. So in this particular episode, I've compiled some comments that you guys leave on social media, and I'm going to be attempting to answer those to the best of my ability. It's going to feel like, those parliamentary questions. If I can't answer them, I'll just say Pasnema sanctions, something silly like that. Ladies and gentlemen, war vets and unfocused youth, welcome to a different episode of Propaganda with Kandoro. I've compiled a few questions. Let's see if we can. This first question says, can we have one episode where you don't use the pen? I don't know. Munemari, I don't know how to respond to this one because it's a pretty difficult one. People seem to like the pen thing. So I don't know. You guys let me know. Should I stop the pen thing? Should I continue? Should we ignore this guy? Ed Ryanet says, my only problem with you, King, is because you don't upload enough. You are the voice of this generation in this space. First of all, thank you so much. That is a compliment that I don't take lightly, on behalf of myself and the team that is helping with the writing, with the research, with every single person. The reason why it might not feel like there's not enough propaganda episodes is simply because we don't have enough money to produce as many episodes of propaganda as I don't get paid to do I actually pay to do propaganda. This is something that I wanted to do for a very long time. I always wanted to use my comedy to speak to things that I felt were, could contribute to a larger conversation. So it means, I have to find people that can help me with the research. I have to find people that have to help me with the filming, with the editing, and some of the measures that I have taken to cost cut have been to build a studio so that I have somewhere where I can record, to buy equipment. But there's still certain things that I can't cost cut. I still have to, pay for research, pay for the people that help structure the show. Sometimes when it gets overwhelming, pay to, get help with the editing. As it stands right now, you guys heard me say we are halfway through the season. It means we are only going to do 10 episodes because that's how much money we have. That's the budget we have. And yeah, that's the main reason why you might feel like there is not, because we just don't have I just don't have the capacity to do beyond. Otherwise, yeah, I wish that was the case. So maybe you're watching this and are like, you know what? I want to contribute because I would love for there to be more episodes. I would love for there to be, consistency of some sort. There are ways that you can contribute. You can join the Patreon group. You can buy a coffee. I will attach links to all those things. The money will go somewhere to produce something. And maybe if it's enough, we will actually add episodes. And instead of doing 10, we end up doing 11, 12. Just depends on how much money we have. The other reason why I might have mentioned it before, the other reason is just because of the heaviness of this show. Sometimes you just have to take a break because there's no reason anyone should be going through all this simply because they love Zimbabwe. I mean, we all love Zimbabwe, but there's no reason for putting yourself through this every week just because. So sometimes I'll be like, you know what, Tim, let's take a break. Let's take a break process, because really and truly, if we were to do an episode as a reaction to something that has happened, anegangori pasine ningirigini, hey mbuya vako, hey what, those are the kind of episodes that would get us arrested because anegangori mafak, So we try to take a break, try to give ourselves time to actually process what has happened and give ourselves an opportunity to speak from a position of, at the very least, balanced emotion. This comment says, your discourses are so thought-provoking as ever. While we all miss Bamagaisa, I'm happy that there are discussions we need to have that are being brought up left, right, and center by people like you. Keep up the good work. Sense will prevail if we keep asking the right questions and taking the right actions. I love this comment because I think it pretty much sums up the reason why the show exists. The show exists to occupy that space where we are constantly being accused, our generation, of being unfocused, of being, easily distracted. The show then serves to say like, hey, man, we can be both things at once. It genuinely is my hope that these discussions don't just stop here, that if we continue sharing the show with other people, it grows. Ideally, with this show, my vision for it was to grow it beyond Zimbabwe, because you see most of the issues that affect us as, be it Southern Africa or Africa, are similar. So it almost becomes a thing of we need to find Africa-wide solutions. If it's the issue of load shedding, you find that South Africa, Zimbabwe, Mozambique, Zambia have a load shedding. Countries as far from us as Nigeria, load shedding issues. If it's the issue of inflation, don't get me started. If it's the issue of tourism that is expensive, local tourism being expensive, figuring out all those things. So I've always had a mindset to say charity begins at home, but once we get to a position where we're like, okay, let's now grow Propaganda to being a regional show and not just a Zimbabwe specific show. So I still hold hope, but really and truly the only people that can make that happen is you guys. This comment from, I'll just call it Ben. It says, I was watching Beverly Hills Cop today. There is a part where I just saw Eddie Murphy and you look just like him. I mean everything. I thought Kandoro should know this. Then we continue with Propaganda. This is literally the first time anyone has ever said I look like Eddie Murphy. I don't see it. I think it might have just been, an angle. This comment says, listen, we need to keep you safe at all costs. If there is anything that actually gets people in trouble, it's these kind of comments. It's similar to like you're hanging out with the Kumarain and you're just joking around, and then somebody says something about someone, and then everyone around starts saying, yeah, it's a lot like that. Because yes, they're politically charged, they are confrontational, but really and truly the objective of these episodes is not to be offensive, right? It's to ask questions. It's not to be rhetorical either. It's to actually ask questions. Some of these questions, I don't have the answers. I genuinely want to know. Please, let's try avoid comments that feel a little bit like they're on the instigator side, because then we start giving people ideas that they didn't have to begin with. Like, I get it. But when it ends up being like 10 people saying, we need to keep Kandoro safe, then people on the other side are going to feel like it's a challenge. And now we end up having a free Kandoro situation. Let's not do that, guys. Right. This comment says, as someone who was protesting by not voting, I have to say that after watching this video, I am ashamed of my decision. And that's because of the arguments that you have put forward in this video. Keep up the good work, bro. I absolutely love your content and how you present this information. Had I seen this video before the elections, I have no doubt in my mind I would have made a different decision. Thank you and keep up the good work. If I could subscribe 100 times. Thank you so much, Chrome Boy. I mean, with everything happening in our country, voter apathy was going to be rife. It was going to be bad. But, it takes one person deciding like, oh, snap. I realize that no matter how bad things are, I should never abdicate my duty as a citizen to vote. I should never leave that particular duty, that particular decision to somebody else. So this comment makes me feel good. Slightly sad because, as they say, they realized a little bit too late. And it's my hope that it's one person leads to two more people. Those two people, you share that video with your, because these decisions are rarely made, individually. It's usually, in groups. You're like, oh, my elections are Nabasa, and all of a sudden it's 10 people deciding to not to vote. It's a whole family, it's a whole community. So yeah, it's my hope that by the time the next elections come along, we have a conscientized generation that is ready to perform their civic duty, that is ready to exercise and make that decision be heard. But we have a long way to go, and during that time, it's my hope that we have 4 or 5 shows that are similar to Propaganda, that are sharing the same message. So even if you don't like seeing my face, you can see another lovely face. The ladies, the gentlemen, the they, thems, everyone is part of the, the conversation, trying to make sure that we get the Zimbabwe that we deserve. Another question says, please do this for every minister, King. Every minister. I don't know if, it goes back to that issue of funding. If you guys provide, if you guys buy my coffee, we could be dropping episodes until Christmas. But hopefully we get an opportunity to do every minister. There are ministries that we've been doing, but not obviously as in-depth. The Minister of Finance, the Minister of Information, those pop up very, very consistently. So hopefully before the season is done, we'll get to do an episode on the Ministry of Transport. That's a big one. Hopefully we get to do one on the Ministry of Tourism. That's an exciting one. There's a lot of exciting things happening in Zim Tourism. We have a new airport. There's talks of resuscitating the London Gatwick Air Zim route. I do hope we get to do quite a few. Another thing that I wanted to speak to you guys about is the issue of sponsorships. If you have a product that you want to promote, and you feel like Propaganda aligns with your brand, please come talk to us. But the thing that I really wanted to speak to you guys is what then happens once we get that sponsorship. That money they give us allows us to keep the lights on this side. It would be great if you guys could, spare a few moments to be it check out their social media, check out the links that are associated with those pages, give them traction. Because if those same people that are sponsoring the show don't see any kind of movement, then they're going to think it's not worth it to sponsor the show, and they will stop, which unfortunately will lead to fewer and fewer episodes. So do check them out. That way we get to keep the lights on. So this episode really was to just make sure that everybody catches So this episode was really to just make sure that everybody catches their breath. I know it's been heavy. I know it's been terrible. But I remain optimistic that brighter days are ahead. If we keep having these conversations, like my group brother said, if we keep having these, having this conversation, maybe we might be making informed actions that lead us to a brighter future. So I've been King Kandoro. Keep sending through those. So I've been King Kandoro. Thank you guys for engaging. Thank you guys for liking. Thank you guys for subscribing to the channel. We just hit 15,000 subscribers this past week. Thank you so much. So keep sharing, keep liking the videos. Let's keep growing. And if everything goes well, I'll see you guys in the next, hopefully not so depressing episode of Propaganda with Kandoro. No.